All right. Back to work tonight, guys. Hope you had a great day out there. Had a pretty good day today. A little bit slower than we'd like it to be right now, but that's all right. Found some great trades this morning in the morning trade room. Hope you made some money out there as well. It is back to work tonight, though. Wednesday is coming at us here tomorrow. We have some great charts in front of us here tonight and some really great trades I'm tracking for Hump Day, for Wednesday's trading session. We got some big news tomorrow. Got a bunch of, I'll tell you, a lot of potential reversals on the chart tonight, and you know me, I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in the video here tonight. That we have a game plan to make some money tomorrow. Before we jump in and get the game going tonight, before we cover all my favorite trades for Wednesday, make sure you subscribe to our channel. I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's video. And if you enjoyed the video tonight, do me a favor, as always, hit that like button and definitely give me a shout out in the comment section below. Appreciate hearing from you guys in the comment section. Thank you so much for tuning in, supporting the YouTube channel. But enough of the intro. Let's get ready for Wednesday. There are a lot of really good trades, especially some reversals setting up here for what might be another great day tomorrow in our trade room. What's happening right now? Well, the S&P is bearish, right? S&P is bearish. We're running into some of these big lows, right? These big range lows we talked about in the video last night. I would love to short the S&P right now, but I don't want to sell low, right? So we're trying to short some pops on the S&P. I've got a number of locations. I would love to get some reversals off the high there on the S&P. I've also got some bottom pickers, some reversals off the low here. We'll talk about the best way to buy the low and get those pops off the low as well. So this long and short trades we're tracking for here on the S&P right now. Nasdaq is bullish. Nasdaq's pretty bullish overall right now, but you know, I'll tell you, when you see the chart tonight, there are three big clues that it just makes this Nasdaq smell like a reversal. It smells like a reversal, if not a full-blown reversal, a rather large correction. And so we'll talk about the best game plan to get our teeth into some of this, right? So we don't miss the profit right off this high. He would love to grab a piece of this reversal here on the Nasdaq. So tracking a reversal here right now on the NQ, and then boy, we are just waiting for this thing to roll over right now on the crude oil, kind of rolling lower in slow motion. We've got some bull traps we're still watching for on some key levels overhead. I've got some breakout pullbacks going lower. It seems like 69, right? 69 and a quarter down there is where these bears are trying to go to. So lots of great shorts on the oil as well. So boy, lots of trades, right? Lots of money-making opportunities for Wednesday. Before we talk about how to trade Wednesday, though, let's make sure we all check the news for Wednesday. There are three kind of key components you want to be aware of here for tomorrow. The first one, of course, is the housing starts and permits number coming out at 8:30 Eastern time. We've had a very aggressive rate hike schedule. The home lending rates, right, mortgage rates have gone through the roof over the past few months, the past, 8, 12 months or so. Will that affect housing starts? How much have they slowed down, right? I think the question is if they slow down. The question is how much. That will definitely be a potential catalyst we're watching for tomorrow. On oil, we've got the weekly inventory report at 10:30 Eastern time. Remember, be careful on oil, 10:15 to 10:40-ish, right? Around that oil report tomorrow. And as we heard this afternoon, we do anticipate continued back and forth between the White House and congressional leaders about the debt ceiling. They sounded pretty optimistic. There was a meeting this afternoon. We mentioned this last night. There was a meeting this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon. They made it very clear they did not see defaults on the horizon here. Everyone's talking about the U.S. possible default, the debt ceiling. They're probably going to get this thing wrapped up. Markets are definitely waiting for more updates regarding the White House, regarding McCarthy and all the drama that goes on with the debt ceiling. They're gonna draw this thing out as long as they possibly can. They are. So we'll probably keep getting some of these ranges in the meantime. So keep that on your radar. 8:30, 10:30, and then that kind of known unknown tomorrow. We're going to keep an eye out for updates regarding regarding the debt ceiling negotiations. Back to our charts though, right? Because of course the money is made on the charts. I've got some great trades. We'll go over here in a moment. If you like making money, I would definitely make sure you watch all the way through the video tonight. I will talk about different trade ideas. Every trade I talk about can be applied to your favorite market. So don't just click off after your favorite chart is finished. I will tie all this stuff together for you. I'll give you a reason to stick around all the way to the end. Jumping in first to the S&P, then we'll go to the Nasdaq and the QQQs, and we'll wrap things up on the crude oil. First of all, don't forget these are tick charts here tonight. You can see all the time frames are listed there in the upper left-hand corner. They are all tick charts. This is the 21 EMA, the exponential moving average. Very important part of our strategy. And as always, guys, I always include a copy of the 60-minute charts. The 4-hour charts are linked up in the description of the YouTube video. I like to use those 60-minute charts, especially for direction bias, the 4-hour chart for general turning points in the chart. So if you want more kind of ways to how I find the best trades each day, definitely check out those links linked up in the description of the video, and everything we talk about tonight you can find linked up in the description there as well. So grab those if you want to see a bigger picture on the charts in front of you. Now, with that said, what is the most important factor on the chart right now? There really is two main components that we have here on the chart. You can see we are feeling pretty bearish right now. Lower lows, lower highs. Bears definitely have that. You know, the market kind of feels relatively heavy right now, right? So bears certainly have the edge on momentum, but also too, we're going right into the lows, right, of this overall trading range. If you watched last night's video, we kind of talked about, look at the size of this range, right? And what did we talk about last night? We talked about how we have to be very careful selling low, very careful buying high, right? What's the best way to do this? You want to sell high, right? And you want to buy low until something changes, right? Until we get a breakout of this trading range. So knowing that we are bearish here in the short term, but running into some real significant areas of support right down below this trading range. The key right now is if you want to sell, you got to sell as high as you can. You got to short those pops, right? That's the way you do stuff like this. We really have quite a few different ways to do this. Some of my favorite trades for tomorrow would be a short off the top of that channel. I really like a short off the expanding triangle, maybe all the way to the pendulum swing. That's a bit of a stretch right now. We'll see, but I like the short off the top of this channel. That also includes that range, right, for a breakout pullback. I like the short off the top of that triangle top. I like that a lot. I also would imagine too, if we end up going lower here, I like the idea of using the underbelly of that range, right? Almost like for a breakout pullback. I like that for a short, right? Again, there's one thing in common, right? There's one thing in common. As we go lower, I have very little interest in selling low until we see a convincing breakout. Now, boy, last night we talked a lot about those two kind of hidden patterns, right? And that's a lot of what we're looking for in this scenario as well, right? As we get up around areas of resistance, my goal is I don't like to try to pick the top on these. What I'll do is I'll wait for buyers to come in, let them try a couple times, and then use their stops, right, as fuel with what we call failure patterns, right, off the top of that channel. And then remember, in a bear market like this, right, the bears, they want to go back and retest that low. So as they're trying to run back to that low, what's the best entry? It's a trap setup, right? That classic kind of failure into trap kind of combination that we talked about in last night's video, right? So again, as we pop up, I'm not trying to pick the top up here, right? I'm not trying to guess the top up there, right? Let the buyers try a couple times, use their stops, right? My first mentor, my first trading coach over 15 years ago, he would always tell me, Joe, the easiest money you're ever going to make is if you can find a place where sellers are selling and the buyers are selling. Now, why would the buyers be selling? Because they're getting stopped out, right? They're getting forced to sell out of that long position. We call those failure patterns in our trade room. And then again, grab those traps, right? Those traps, right? It could be up here, right? We go up. I like this place even better, right? This is even better, right? Now we're selling it versus above the top of that range, right? Maybe we go higher here. right? We go really nice up into some levels of resistance. The buyers come in, let them dig that hole, right? Let them dig that grave. Let them try a couple times up around resistance, range magnet there below. Horrible spot to be a buyer, right? Slip that order right in, grab that failure pattern, and then as we're dropping, right? As we're dropping, we know how choppy this market is right now, so focus on those traps, right? Focus on those traps. And this would be really great because this failure into kind of pullback or failure into trap pattern kind of combination there, think about the reward on this, right? The reward now is all the way back down to that low. So this is a very, very desirable short, right, as we try to come off the high of that channel, right, the high of that triangle. And you guys know, right, you guys are learning these failure setups, the trap setups in our free trading course, right? Most of you guys have taken that video series. You've learned all of these entry setups, which reminds me, if you haven't done so yet, if you haven't taken the free trading course and learned these, especially failures and traps right now, that's where the best money is made in range bound markets like these. If you're one of the few folks who haven't taken that free class yet, I'll put a link up there for you in the upper right-hand corner. Grab that link, take that free trading course. You're going to love it because the strategy you'll learn in that short video series will show you a simple trick to know exactly where the best winning trades will be each day, so you know where to look for them. And I'll make it easy for you to start making money on your own because you'll learn my 4 favorite entry patterns, things like failures, traps, strength trades, pullback combinations. You'll learn all about those in that free trading course. If you're sick and tired of missing the best trades right now, if you're taking too many losses, making too many mistakes out there, that'll give you the roadmap. That will give you the roadmap to turn this thing out of the red into the green here in your trading. Couple more things I want to talk about, right? Couple more things we should talk about here. If we are going lower, right, there's a very good chance this market kind of bleeds lower here as well and begins to try to take out some of these lows here, right? Very, very bearish, right, as it goes lower. And one thing about ranges is that once we break out of a trading range, now the underbelly, right, like this area, that becomes resistance. That, this whole area really becomes resistance, right? These are, basically breakout pullbacks, right? They're basically breakout pullbacks. So if we were to go lower here, right, overnight, now what we'll do is, now watch closely, I'll begin to adjust the channel, right? I'll simply draw that channel a bit steeper now off these lows, up around that. See what I'm doing here, right? So I connect these lows. If we go lower, let me get rid of this channel here for a second, right? If we end up going lower here, all we do now is we go, okay, connect these lows up around these highs now, and now we've got a pretty good idea, right? Again, this area, this area, this area, that's now where we anticipate the best entries. And again, if we do get that pullback we'd like in this situation, we're not trying to blindly sell off the high, right? This could easily rip right back into that range, right? Because of course, again, we're overall pretty bearish, right? I'll talk about how to buy it in a moment. Don't you worry. I'm going to cover the buy side here in a moment on this. I will not leave you hanging on that. But again, as we go back to the top of that channel, right, we're not trying to predict that top. It's a range, right? It could easily rip and run higher here. So let those buyers show us what they want, right? Let them try a couple times. Use their exits to fuel this. Again, remember, think about this. This is one of those rare spots where sellers are selling. And if you can trap those buyers in, right, the buyers are sellers as well. And then again, as we're going lower, we don't want to sell low, right? Why? Because we're at support below a trading range. The best way to short this, if you can't get that reversal off the high, is to look for that bull trap. It's basically a bull trap, right? It's a trap setup, like you guys are learning in the free trading course, right? Okay, so as we go lower, same idea. All right, guys? Now, here's a question. How do I buy off that low? Right? How would I buy off of that low? Great question. So as we go lower, this is a great place to buy because you're at support, right? And you want to buy at support. You're low and you want to buy low, right? So great spot to be a buyer. But what's the challenge? The challenge is momentum. If you're a member of my trade room, we get together and we trade together every morning. I'm always talking about the two things, right? How is my location and how is my momentum, right? Those are the two kind of filters that if you can answer those questions, they should tell you how to successfully make money in that situation, right? How is location? Location's great down here. Right, I can be a buyer there. Absolutely, I'm buying low. I'm buying at support, range above me, range magnet. Okay, so location's great. Momentum is the challenge. Okay, so if momentum's a challenge, what do I mean by that? Well, look what it is, right? We go lower low, lower high, right? That's a lot of momentum, right? Don't be so quick to pick bottoms on this stuff. These can keep on going and going and going, and right. So picking bottoms is tough. What I would rather do in this is go out and try to trap in some of these sellers. Okay, hopefully there'll be quite a few sellers who aren't watching this video right now. They're inexperienced. They're just following that trend lower. They don't realize where they are here. And now watch this closely. Okay, watch this pattern very closely. We call these crown reversal patterns. Okay, these are a little more precise. Okay, but I think you'll see what they look like, right? So first of all, we need to kind of fuel this reversal, right? We need to fuel that reversal, right? We're very bearish in this example, okay? So in order for me to turn this thing around, I need some sort of catalyst. And there's no better catalyst than to run some stops. So we need to get 2 tries from the bears. But guys, markets love to try twice. They love to try twice. Human beings, it's human nature to try things twice before you give up and go the opposite direction, right? When you learn a new skill, you'll try it twice and then give up, right? It's human nature. The 2-try rule, we talk about this a lot in our trade room, in our membership classes. The 2-try rule, the number 2 is very, very common before we get a reversal. The most important thing is that will now unlock the stops, right, that we need here to be a buyer off the low. We need those stops to fuel this thing going higher, right? Okay, now, what is the danger? If I was to buy this market going higher, right, if I was to use a classic failure pattern, right, a 2-try failure, 1, 2, and buy in stops. If I start buying right there, what is the danger right now? The danger is I'm running into overhead resistance. A lot of times these will pop up and get crushed right back down in. All right. Again, not a bull market, right? It's a bearish market right now, right? So we have to assume that sellers are waiting above the high of that channel. Okay. If you understand this aspect, you will be able to avoid a lot of painful losses, all right? When you're trying to go against momentum like that, the key is I don't want to buy high. I don't want to buy as we're going higher, all right? You're potentially walking right into a trap, okay? Speaking of trap, that's the way you trade it, right? The way you trade it is you go out and you look for that bear trap. We have to get in before we make that move. Okay, these are everywhere on charts, right? Once you learn the basics of this, again, I call them crown reversals. Once you understand the basics of this pattern, you're going to start seeing them everywhere. All right. So again, we wrap the bears in, right? Let them dig that grave. Let them wrap that noose around their neck. And then our job is to get in as low as possible with some sort of bear trap. That way, if the market does move in our favor at that point, and we do get a round of bears coming in and they clobber us back down, we've already made money on that trade. Make sense? Right? So you want to buy as low as you can buy, because as we go higher, it's a bear market right now, right? And it could easily be bears hanging out above that high. Okay? That's why with a reversal like this, you got to buy as low as you can. Right? Now, there's some variations of this. So, for example, sometimes it'll take out the low and then pop right back up like that. Okay? That's fine too. Just make sure you buy as low as you can. Right? You want to buy that trap. Right? Buy that trap off that low. Make sense? Right? Sometimes they're back here. Right? Sometimes they'll run lower. The bears once, the bears twice. It'll come right back down, trap low. Right? You'll usually make money on those entries. Right. The problem is if you buy way up here, right? Look what's happening. You're buying right into the bears. Okay. Again, these are one of those patterns that once you see it, you're going to start seeing them everywhere. Right. Like that red sports car. Right. Okay. So that's how we want to buy it right? If we get that reversal off the low, sometimes these things will V bottom, right? Kind of V bottom, punch up, grind like that, and we find some channels off that high, right? Off of that low, and again, we're simply looking to buy as low as we can, right? Traps, okay? That way you're not walking into, right, any overhead resistance. All right, guys. Looking good here now, right? I like that game plan. The only other variable we have right now would be, how would you buy it as it goes higher, right? What do you think? How, if you want to trade that rotation higher, how would you buy it? You'd buy those traps, right? It's the only way to do it, right? So if you want to be a buyer right now going higher on the way up to those areas, right? And then rope those bulls in, right? 1, 2, back down again. You get a game plan for it now. Right? You want those trap setups, right, as we rotate back and forth. I'm getting excited just talking about it right now. All right, S&P is all ready to go, locked and loaded. What do you think, right? I'd love to know your feedback. Give me a shout out there in the comments section. Let me know what you think. Over on the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is the tough one tonight. Nasdaq is testing our abilities. I mentioned in the introduction before that it just smells a bit like a reversal. All right, there are 3 reasons why. We're very bullish right now, right? You probably don't need me to tell you that we are. Again, we're pretty bullish, not just on this chart, but if you go into the 60-minute and the 4-hour charts, you're going to see, right, we're pretty bullish right now. However, there are 3 big reasons. First of all, we are 3 legs up, okay? And if you go into the 60-minute chart, or any higher time frame, you will notice, and we talked about this quite a bit last night, the Nasdaq keeps on making these new highs and then get knocked back down, right? Making new highs and getting knocked back down. So we talk about this in the free trading course. Trends love 3s. They love 3s. Okay, and what you do is you measure the first leg, right? So first leg, second leg, okay, third leg. Now you guys learn this in the video course, right? The middle leg is oftentimes the oddball. Okay, we oftentimes will see, 3 legs go like this, right? 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg. Okay, where again, first leg, third leg are symmetrical, or 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg. Again, right, where first leg and third leg are symmetrical. It's the middle leg that's oftentimes the one that kind of confuses people. Okay, so that's why I say first leg. Second leg is obviously smaller. That's perfectly fine by me, right? Third leg is very, very convincing. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 legs up. Now, that is not a guarantee of a reversal, right? It definitely is not. Okay, sometimes we're going to keep going higher and higher. These things can go higher, just, they do that sometimes. All right, the second clue is a channel. And we pointed this out quite a bit last night, I believe, here, right? It's kind of the top of this really big, big long-term channel, right? Draw off those highs, draw off that low, right? This is a pretty convincing coincidence, right? 3 legs up, top of that channel. There's a heck of a lot of space down there, right, for that correction, right? I would imagine this correction could easily take out that 13,420 area, 13,418, right? Down around that area off the high there. Okay? That's the second clue I'm using right now. And the third clue might be the most important clue out of all of them, is the way the market just reacted off the moving average. Now, we always talk about how the 21 moving average, right? The 21 moving average is for the most part, it's one of the key tools that we use to measure short-term momentum. Right? Now look back in time, right? Look back in time. Every time we've gone below the moving average, right, the bears have been unable, right? They've been unable to get anything going. Well, now we're rolling over and jumping right off that moving average. Okay? Now this could be premature. It could be premature, but it's quite convincing, right? It is quite convincing now when you start putting all the stuff together, right? Top of that channel, 3 legs up, 1, 2, 3 reversal, 1, 2, 3 jump off the 21 moving average. Okay, so I like the idea of the reversal. I don't love the idea of a long trade here right now. I'd like to see if I can get 1, 2, 3 legs down, right? Somewhere down around that 13,420 area. Let's get rid of some of these smaller channels here, and let's talk about where we can look for shorts here right now, right? One of them, now hold on real quick. if you watched last night's video, and we just talked about this a moment ago on the S&P, we mentioned that how do you sell off the high? You sell off the high by waiting for what? Waiting for buyers once, waiting for buyers twice, right? And then that short, right? We call these two try failures. We outlined this last night in the video if you watched last night. So what is the next follow-up trade? What is the next trade we look for after a reversal like that, after a failure like this? It's a trap. Right? Remember, that's the next pattern after the failure. So where's the trap going to be? The trap will be above this high right here, right? Like that short, right? Off the high, kind of like a last gasp for the buyers. I like that short. If we start to roll a bit lower here, right? Begin to roll lower. Now we've got even better traps waiting above that high right there. All right? So that's kind of where we are in the sequence right now. The unfortunate part is, right, is we've already got that failure, right, punching now off the high. So we have to assume that there are some bears out there taking some profit, right? They're getting paid off that reversal, and now we go looking for the next follow-up trade in that sequence, which again is going to be a trap setup, right? Whether or not we go higher, really, or we go lower. So the easy one is let's get above this high, pin these buyers, right? Up around resistance, right? Lots of resistance, 3 legs up. I could easily see this happening because this is a relatively strong move right here. Anytime we see strong moves like this, we know there's always the potential for a pullback and a retest, right? So a retest of that high shouldn't surprise anybody here. We're an overall bull market. But once those buyers come in and begin to start to struggle up here, right? Hopefully we'll get a nice little mulligan or a redo off of that high for a failure, right, into pullback, or my favorite, failure into a trap setup right off of that high. We don't need that trap, by the way, in this situation. As long as I can trap those buyers above the moving average. Remember, again, think of an area where the sellers are selling, right, and the buyers are selling, right? Those are usually where the best trades are going to be because everyone is selling. And then as we roll over, right, could be a trap, could be a failure pattern, could be a pullback combination, any of the entry patterns you guys are learning in that free trading course. These will oftentimes, by the way, they will oftentimes connect off the low up around the high, and you'll oftentimes get that little hidden channel, right? Watch how I draw this again, right? I like to draw my channels off the lows as we roll over, then find that channel high, right? And combine those entry setups off the top of that channel, right? That would be one option to keep in mind, right? If we do pop higher here. The other one, which seems to be a little bit more convincing, right? Because momentum will have shifted more for us, is if we end up rolling over, right? And running lower. Now we ultimately now start drawing these channels off the lows, off the highs, right? And we start looking for trap setups, right? We start looking for, really, if we do end up rolling over here, right? We start thinking, okay, draw off those lows, up around these highs, right? Mark that swing. And, you know, I love traps. Remember, this is a 5,000 tick chart right now. This is not the time frame we'll trade tomorrow in the trade room at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? We'll trade a much faster time frame. So on the faster time frame, it could be a trap setup above prior swings. It could be a failure pattern above the moving average, failure into pullback combination. And again, like I said, I like the idea of that 13,420 area on the way going lower. If we were to, for example, just to fall apart, right? Fall apart in that situation, what do you not want to do? You don't want to sell low, right? So if we end up falling apart, what do? We usually go out, start marking those prior swings, find those, and wait for those pullbacks, get above the 21 moving average, trap those buyers in, and back down to retest low. Simply drawing bigger channels, finding levels of resistance, and just shorten the pops, right? It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science, right? In an overall bullish market like this on the Nasdaq, we just don't want to sell it as it goes lower, right? So if it does drop off the high, if we don't get that short off the high, wait for that pop up and look for the retest of that low. All right, guys. And I'm sure there will be plenty more other variations of this tomorrow morning on the Nasdaq here. We'll obviously, we'll work our way through them tomorrow morning in the trade room. Unfortunately, I can't go over every possible scenario here on this video. All right, guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here on the Nasdaq here right now. How about some crude oil? How about some crude oil? Crude oil is slow and steady here right now, trying to roll over. Oil is probably one of the easier because we have a pretty good directional bias right now. The Nasdaq is bullish. We're looking for a reversal. The S&P's range bound. Neither one of those are quite slam dunks. Because the range on the S&P and the reversal on the Nasdaq. If you go in the description, you'll see that 60-minute chart linked up for the crude oil. It's pretty easy to see this oil market is pretty bearish right now. So I'd like to be a seller on this. It's kind of the filter in which I'm looking at this right now, and we really have kind of two main factors. One is this pop and grind channel that we talked about in last night's video, right? Kind of pops down, grinds down. We mentioned how this is kind of the underbelly of that trading range and how this whole area would probably be where we saw the best shorts. And you could definitely see we were not the only people thinking there was some shorts to make some money on right above those areas, right? So we're trying, as you can see, the bears are trying to just roll this thing over right now, take out these lows, get down to that 69-ish area, 68, 99. There's a big range down there, right? On the 60-minute chart, you'll see that big range waiting there below us. The second component on this, right? So we're going to know the market kind of heavy right now. The second component is this trading range. You'll notice it's pretty bullish, right, into that trading range. When we have a bull market, or in this case, a bullish move, maybe not a bull market, might not be the right way to describe this, but a bullish move into a trading range, what do we know? We know that levels of support will oftentimes get bought up, right, into that trading range. We also know there's a lot of resistance up here, right? So we got to be careful right here. We got to be careful shorting this thing. We haven't quite broken the magnetic pull of this trading range, right? So if you understand kind of how ranges work, and we go over more of this in the free trading course, obviously, but if you understand how ranges work, there really is kind of two really what I think would be really good trades here on the crude oil. Either we end up getting a bear trap here and getting some nice shorts right off these areas of resistance overhead. I think that is probably my favorite trade here for tomorrow. We may not get that. Again, just because I know we've got that area of resistance overhead, range below us. We see a lot of those like little head fakes, right, above ranges, almost like a last gasp, right, for these buyers there. So I like the idea. I like the idea of running up, right, using that failure pattern, right, using those 1, 2, and then selling right into stops, right? Think about an area where the sellers are selling, and if you let the buyers get trapped in above the moving average with a failure pattern, now the buyers are sellers, right? Those are home run, very high percentage trades right there. You take a bunch of those in your career, you're probably going to make quite a bit of money, right? Obviously, nothing's perfect, but those are high quality, right, setups off the high. The other one, right, of course, would be we end up rolling lower, a little bit lower here. Right now the race is on, right, before we get back to that low, and now we're looking for that breakout pullback style that we talked about on the S&P, right? So if we do end up rolling lower, this wouldn't be a horrible thing in the sense that we're now kind of convinced now that now we've broken free of that trading range. The challenge, of course, now is it's a sprint. It's a race now to get in before we get back to retest the low. So what do we do in a situation like that where the market begins to run back to those lows here? You look for traps, right? Look for traps, absolutely, right? This is the definition of where a trap setup is beneficial because now we can sell as high as we possibly can here. And think about this now, right? The range is right there. So what do? You go out and you find those previous, right, basically all the support levels, right? That level, right? You draw that trend line down and find that channel, and we're basically looking to short, that pop, right? It could be a trap like I'm showing you right here. It could be a buyer failure, you know what I mean, right? It may pop up a little bit higher, up into the underbelly of that range. Again, these range underbellies, they love to come back and tap them, right? Don't just predict the top on this. Let those buyers come in, right? Let them Let them walk themselves right down the plank, right? And we can short right into those stop losses. Again, finding those channels right off the high, popping up right and shorting it back down again. Okay, the goal is very simple, right? In this case, the goal is very obvious. It's to get back to retest the low. So do we end up rolling lower and then short the bounces back down, right? Or do we end up going higher, trap the buyers in, and get that potential reversal back down, right? Those are the two scenarios I see as being the highest probability trades. How would I buy a market like this? Very carefully, right? Very carefully. It's not a good buy right now because, well, again, you've got such bear momentum right now. We have to run up, hold the pullback, and really start to turn this thing around here. It's very difficult to find a good way to buy this. Now, does that mean we can't go higher tomorrow? Of course not. Right? You will see a lot of times in trading where, just because I don't want, the buyers may not have a good trade right now, but, give it a few hours and they may have a good setup tomorrow. We have to get a little bit of a turn in momentum here first. All right, guys? Doesn't mean it can't go higher, but it just means right now, we see right now, there simply isn't the edge. We don't have an edge to be a buyer here just yet. All right, guys? Boy, great game plan tonight on the crude. The Nasdaq's ready. S&P's ready. You are ready as well. Now, tomorrow morning, don't forget, you do not need to do this all on your own. I'll tell you, I have helped thousands of traders in my career. A lot of the new traders I work with, they have a hard time staying patient, staying disciplined. They force bad trades. They take impulse trades. They lack discipline. They lack confidence. I always say either we trade the market or the market trades us, right? We every morning in our trade room, we visualize, we prep together that we know exactly what we're waiting patiently for and have the confidence to wait and take that trade once we see it. You're going to love being a member of our morning trade room. We open up every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll put all the membership links, all the free class links, all the higher time frame links down the description of the video tonight. Grab those links, get joined up. I'll see you tomorrow morning in the morning trade room. At the very least, though, take the free trading course, learn the fundamentals, get yourself up to speed. That way you're all warmed up and moving in the right direction when you do come out and join us in the morning trade room. If you have questions, any questions, don't be afraid to call the office. I'm always here to help. I got live chat in the lower right-hand corner there as well. So if you need help, we're here to help out. So don't be a stranger. Keep in touch on the different channels there on the website. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. Hope you learned a bunch. Hope you earned this. Hope you use the knowledge to make a killing tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you sometimes in the morning trade room. In the meantime, be well. Be nice to each other out there, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.